seems to me that this debate about, well, is science a kind of religion or is it a kind of faith? It's an argument that goes on mostly between theists and secular materialist types, and also other spiritual types, more New Agey spiritual types, as well as people that are just suspicious or have a negative taste in their mouth about, the scientific establishment as an industry and its relationship to commercial industry. They hire scientists to make, McDonald's food and develop new dishes. They don't hire cooks anymore. They hire flavor scientists and whatnot. And the military industrial complex has their own kind of scientists and aerospace and so on. And I think so. There's that faction, which three very different kinds of groups of people, and probably others, versus people, also a wide variety of people that are pro-science. Now, their scientism and scientismic dogmatists, they don't understand, according to me, science, but say they believe in it. That, and those could be just people that are into technology and relate science to technology and stuff. And I think what people are really missing in all of this is the fact that really distinguishes a scientific / skeptical natural philosophy from a dogmatic philosophy that is unnatural philosophy. Lily, don't go too far. And what makes that distinction is simply the sort of the direction. Let's put it as a direction of an arrow. You've got your ideas about nature, and you've got what nature tells you, right? So if you have an idea about nature and nature contradicts it, do you call nature wrong? Or do you call the idea wrong? Now, natural philosophy and what I would call actual science is very clear that you go and ask nature. You look to nature. I like to say ask nature, but more accurate probably to say you look to nature. Lily! Poor dog didn't get a walk today. Just first walk at the end of the day. Oh, just too excited. Too many things to smell and whatnot. Lily, don't run off so far. So what causes things like this? Is this where a tree fell over, 100 years ago? Or there's a lot of these out here. These little ponds just carved out of the forest floor. Lily! Oh good, you're right there. I'm sorry for down you, Lily. You're right there. Good girl. Good girl, Lily. So, I'd like to describe this broadly enough for you to try to make your own understanding of it. And I'm talking about if you have ideas and you look at nature. Now, if you look at nature and it contradicts your ideas, do you say nature's somehow wrong, which was Plato's approach, that everything in nature is an imperfect copy of something that's a lot more like an idea than it is like a natural thing? Or do you say, no, if they contradict, if I look to nature and it contradicts my idea, then my idea must be wrong? Right, I could see negative things possibly coming out of the sound of that rhetoric, like, well, what if you want to change nature? What if I look at nature and a hurricane kills 100,000 people, and I think that's wrong? Well, no, I don't think nature's doing something wrong. See, the natural philosophy approach to that is, well, we don't want 100,000 people to die. You can't deny what nature is telling you. You can't deny that when you look at nature, there's such a thing as hurricanes and say, no, hurricanes are wrong, that's an imperfect thing, shouldn't happen. They happen, and you accommodate yourself to that. Your idea on how to save 100,000 lives can't be that nature should stop making a mistake. It has to be that you take how nature works into account and you make storm shelters and proper drainage and things like that that you can do to mitigate the natural effects. And a natural philosophy is really going to nature to find out these kinds of answers. And in my case, natural philosophy is a bigger set than science, and there's various ways to express the ways in which it's bigger. It's much more broad because it's the whole question of going to nature, including, emotional feelings you have in nature. And the shorthand way I've come to want to describe it is that natural philosophy is about human psychology and how humans live and ways of life for humans, and includes things such as spiritual feelings and feelings of love and the appreciation of beauty. Whereas what we have called science it looks at nature, but it looks at a subset of nature, and it's pretty specific, and they teach it to you, what that subset is, in decent physics programs. And it's really quite simple. Science, as we understand it, limited to the activity of science, what people get PhDs in, is limited to measuring three very specific quantities, and that's mass, distance, and time. Things like energy are described in terms of mass, distance, and time. So I'm not the kind of materialist that thinks that that is sufficient, that we can describe everything in the universe directly in terms of mass, distance, and time. It's possible. It's an open question to me of if we can. I would say quantum physics makes it look like there's probably some more parameters. Now, I am materialist in that I think whatever's missing out of that triad, whatever other elements we might have to be able to measure, that they will be measurable. And also I'm a little bit susceptible to the argument that whatever these other elements are, maybe they'll be able to be reduced into measurements of mass, distance, and time. But in general, natural philosophy, and possibly the broadest sense of science, is not limited to that, right? Now, in practice, and in our culture, and in terms of if you're getting a degree in science, then yes, this is limited to measuring mass, distance, and time. And that's the sense in which it's things that are tangible, things you can see. Now, a lot of the New Age spirituality has to do with, but what about the things you can't see? Well, everything can be seen in some sense, right? If by see we include hearing, if by see we include all perception and are just using sight as a metaphor for all perception. Because, for example, love. We have perceptions of these feelings that we call feelings of love. They're not like other feelings. And we have a perception of them. So that is a perception. It's something you can experience. Right? And I would call that tangible. Now, it might not be as tangible as the sense of touch, which is the source metaphor for the term and idea of tangibility. Because when you touch something, it seems more real even than if you see or hear it. When you actually touch it, you're pretty sure it's a physical thing, just from the sense of touch. Whereas you can see something, especially if it's in the distance or shadowy, and not be sure